got to sanitize everything, make sure that it is absolutely clean before we get into the kombucha. And I just washed all the eggs, so I put a little bleach in the water. I'm going to wipe everything down before we get started. So today we are going to bust into some of this kombucha over here. I have to cover up the screen so I don't look at the screen, and so I'm looking directly now at you. So I'm just getting myself set up here for making kombucha. I'm going to get another gallon of tea going so that it can cool down, so I can get my SCOBY into a whole nother batch and keep it brewing. I've got raspberries that we picked last year from our garden and we froze, and so those are going to make a really great flavor for this second brew that I'm going to have going. I use a gunpowder green tea, and I get this from Global Infusions. If you're not familiar with Global Infusions, check them out. Great variety of teas and spices and herbs and whatnot for gifts and for anything that you could ever need. So I'm just going to get this tea going. I should add that I do add 1 cup of sugar to the tea, and the SCOBY, which is a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast, needs the sugar to eat. Alright, so I've got my tea going. My water's boiling. I'm going to get the sugar in there, I'm going to get the tea in there, let it seep for a little while, let it cool off, come down to room temperature, and then I will add my new SCOBY to that tea. But let's first take a look at my old SCOBY. So in the winter time, the tea brews or the kombucha ferments at a much slower pace than in the summer, and that's because it has to be at the right temperature. So I have this little Propagate Pro heating mat that fits perfectly around the jar, and I got these thermometer strips that tells me how warm the tea is. So right here we are about 68 to 71, almost 75, and so that's just about the perfect temperature for my SCOBY to brew and to ferment. So I'm just going to take that off. We'll set that up there, and let's take a look at this beautiful tea. It smells really good. It looks really healthy. Looks like I've got the original SCOBY is just kind of falling down to the bottom. The new SCOBY is up on top. And so I'm just going to take out this SCOBY. I don't like to stick my fingers right down in there, so let's see here. And then I put it in a dish, flatten it out so I can get a good look at them. Oh, look at that little baby one. Look at that little baby one. All right. And so now still in the bottom here we have, it's a little bit cloudy, which is fine. You can see that the mother is in there. And take a look. That would be a layer of the SCOBY. This one here is also has a nice layer. So they could be taken apart. But I'm going to leave them together. My SCOBYs haven't really been growing very thick because it's winter, I think, and because it's kind of cool. I really like brewing the kombucha more so in the summer because I can leave it sitting right out here on the counter, and it's not out of sight, out of mind. In the winter, I put it up into a cupboard, keep it off the counter, and keep that heat mat around it, and then it's just kind of out of sight, out of mind. So I've had a couple of batches go to vinegar which is still useful. You don't throw it out. Keep your other scobies in there. You can use it for many other things, from cleaning to a toner for your skin. I know, right? Who knew? So a gallon of kombucha usually fills 4 of these bottles. Might not fill all of these bottles because this one is a little bit bigger. I get these from Aldi's. There's like a sparkling lemonade that comes in these ones, and I really like these ones. And then of course sangria. The only thing is that you have to drink the sangria first. I like the flip tops. They seal. I can sanitize them in the dishwasher. They're good to go. The raspberries work really great for this because I don't really have to cut up the fruit and put them in. The blackberries, which are really big, I have to cut them or quarter them to shove them in. With fruits like the berries that have a high sugar content, you don't really have to add any other sugar. If you were to use something that didn't have a very high sugar content, maybe you're just making like an herbal brew, you could always add a little sugar or honey here at this step. This is the second fermentation. So the first fermentation, this tea has been up in the cupboard since January 30th, and it is now February 18th, and it's doing just fine. Again, because it's been cold, so you know, you put your scobies in the fridge if you want them to go dormant. Hence my little heat pad there. In the heat of the summer, it can really get away from you. You really want to be careful here on the second brew that you don't let it sit too long, because when you pop one of these tops, it could be dangerous. I've only done that once, and I have been brewing kombucha for, gosh, I don't know, maybe at least 8-10 years. And I've only had a batch get away from me once. And actually it was a bottle that I took out of the fridge. It was almost gone. There was maybe like this much kombucha left in it. And it was mostly fruit. And so I just set it on the counter and forgot about it. And when I wasn't even thinking, I popped the top, and it popped so loud that my ears rang. And I it rattled my brain. And then there was another bottle sitting on top that I had taken out at the same time, and I was so afraid to open it. In fact, I didn't. I made my husband take it outside, way out in the backyard, and open it back there. He said when he did, though, that nothing happened. Of course, it was winter and or cold outside anyway. And I put the bottle out there, hoping that it would depressurize. So just be careful, especially on this second ferment. I don't burp my bottles because I like the fizz. In the summer, I have it pretty much timed to maybe about 3 days of sitting on the counter, and then I put them in the fridge. So we use filtered water for just about everything here at the house. From our Berkey to this, like 3 times a day I'm transferring water from one to the other. From the tap to the Berkey to here, and then right here is where the boys can come and get their glass of water, where we fill up for cooking and whatnot. So filtered water. That is a beautiful color already, and then with the addition of the raspberries, that is going to just be a nice pink color. It's already got a little bit of fizz going on because it's been up there since January 30th. So that was almost 4 cups right there. You always want to save a little bit of the kombucha from the original batch to add into the next batch as a starter. Getting a little messy there. I like this silicone funnel because I can pinch it to let the air out as I funnel in. So I guess I used maybe about a 1/4 cup of berries in each bottle. You can do more or less, or you can do combinations. In the summer, I love to add basil or sage even. You can do a little nasturtium. borage flowers. I've done borage flowers with great success. A little bit of cucumber taste from the borage. But you can do any combination. You can add in a little ginger, a little lemon zest. Just go on Pinterest and it will reveal unto you any combination that you could ever dream of. I have found that the less space that you leave in there for the second brew, the quicker it builds that fizz. There we go. I'm going to put those up in my fermenting cabinet here where they're going to be in the dark. And I will probably put my little heat wrap just kind of wound up in there all around this, and then my new batch of tea so that they can all kind of share in the heat. And we will check these again in about 3 days. Alright, so next what we're going to be doing today is getting another jar of garlic and honey going. This jar of garlic and honey has been sitting in the cupboard for, since summer, for real. And I cook with it, I make salad dressing with it, I eat a garlic clove every day. The longer that the garlic sits in the honey, the sweeter the garlic cloves become, so that you can just eat it. And they are really like candy. It just like melts in your mouth. Now, if you just put honey in a jar with garlic and then scoop out the garlic clove and try to eat it, it's not going to be sweet like this garlic clove. You really got to let it sit. It doesn't really go bad. Honey doesn't go bad. The garlic in the honey, it's anti everything. Fights cold and flu, it improves digestion. It's detoxifying, it's good for liver health, lower blood pressure. Eat a clove every day. Try to use organic garlic whenever you can. This garlic we grew in our garden. We've been growing garlic for years here in this garden. These big ones here are a variety that actually came from my husband's dad's uncle. Been passed down for quite a while, and they're really big and they're really delicious. I like to use these ones in the ferment because it's not as tedious to peel them all. The really, small ones are pretty tedious to get them all peeled. This is a hardneck variety. Great for the northern climate. Look at those roots on them. Garlic is pretty easy to grow. It's just like any bulb that you plant in the fall. So if you plant tulips or daffodils, it's similar. We usually harvest all of our garlic just right at the beginning of summer. Just enough time to get something else in the ground afterwards. Something fast growing, maybe a squash or some beans or something. So these big cloves I'll cut up into bite-sized pieces. Also, cutting them up will help to speed up the fermentation process. I use this honey and garlic in almost every night. Every night in cooking. Add it to marinades, I add it to dressings. You can even put it on your biscuit. Alright, so now that I have the garlic all cut up and in the jar, I'm going to add the honey. It's best to use raw, unfiltered honey. Get it local if you can. Local honey has a lot of qualities and benefits. Getting it locally helps with seasonal allergies, because if you're eating or consuming the raw honey that the bees are gathering pollen from in your local area, will help you build up an immunity to those seasonal allergies. I am using Michigan raw unfiltered honey. I got it at Costco because I don't have a source for raw honey here just yet. I really want to do bees myself, but I have oil bugs in the yard. If you don't know what an oil bug is, I will try to put a link in either in the comments down below or try to figure out how to put it on the screen right here. But they're bad little bugs for bees. They lay their eggs at the base of a flower, and then the larva climbs up the stem and nestles itself down into the pollen and hitches a ride with the bee back to the hive, where it eats the pollen that the bee larvae is supposed to be eating, and then eats the bee larvae. So bad for the bees. So I'm going to add enough honey in here to cover all of my garlic, and maybe just a little bit more because I use the honey more than the garlic. And with my other batch, I have periodically just added honey. I'm usually able to get 2 jars, not all the way full, but just enough to cover the garlic out of one container of honey. Cover it. You can tell it's cold here. I just want to make sure that all the garlic is coated all the way down there to the bottom. And then, because it will drip at some point, I put it in another bowl. So I'm going to leave this lid a little bit loose because there are gases that are going to build up as the fermenting process gets underway. So every day though, I'm going to open up the cupboard and I'm going to tighten up the lid. I'm going to give it a little shake. The garlic will begin to release its juices, so it's going to get just a little bit thinner in consistency, but that is going to build up nicely. All right, welcome back. Here we are the next day. I just wanted to show you the difference between the new garlic and the old garlic, all started in honey. Show you the bubbles that are already beginning to form in here. So the fermentation process is underway. I'm going to put the cap back on it, give it a good shake, put it back into the cupboard, and then I'm going to eat myself here one of these delicious candied garlic cloves and call it a day. If you liked what you saw here, if you like learning about garlic honey and how to make kombucha, please like, subscribe, follow me, Instagram, Facebook, and throughout the summer we'll have all kinds of helpful hints for the garden and for in the kitchen. Thank you.